So we will turn to her to guide us in tonight's study as usual. Jazakallah khair, Yamina. Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. إسراء. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So last week we had reflected on the topic in the 20-second window, if you remember. And not to take too much time, I want to go on to how this 20-second window is related to the previous one, which is the 21st window. So I'll invite you to do that for yourself the moment you ask that question and reconsider the two windows. You will start seeing how they are related and connected, inshallah. If you remember, the 22nd window starts with two Quranic passages. The first one is from Surah An-Naba, which is Surah 78, ayah 6 to 8. And then there is another passage, which is the ayah 50 of Surah Ar-Rum, Surah 30. So I want to mention 2 points. One is the connection between these two Quranic passages, because they seem to be unrelated. I'll tell you why. The first passage is, have we not made the earth a cradle and the mountains as pegs and created you as pairs? And the second passage is, so behold the imprints, the signs of God's mercy, how he raises to life the earth after its death. So it doesn't look like they are related. And the second thing I want to mention is what is the reason or the wisdom behind mentioning only the first part of ayah 50 of Surah 30. It's not the whole surah, it's only the first part. So I'll share my own reflection on the hikmah, the wisdom, in focusing on the first part in this particular window. So the first text is ayah 6 to 8. Have we not made the earth a cradle and the mountains as pegs and created you as pairs? Ayah 6 to 8. But if we look at this surah from the very beginning, Surah An-Naba, Surah 78, from the beginning, it starts with, what are they asking one another about? If you remember, عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون. What are they asking one another about? The momentous announcement about which they differ? Nay, they shall find out. Nay, they shall indeed find out. And then we have we not made the earth a cradle and the mountains as pegs and created you as pairs? And we made your sleep for rest, and we made the night as a cover, and we made the day for seeking livelihood, and we built above you 7 firmaments, and we made the sun a blazing lamp, and we sent down from the clouds water in abundance, that you may bring forth thereby grain and plants and gardens of luxurious growth. So this is the last ayah is ayah 16. So mentioning these verses from 6 to 16 they are all to attract our attention to the wise order, the wisdom, the harmonious order of this world, and how the creation is made in a way to sustain life in so many amazing, even you can say miraculous ways that reflect all-encompassing knowledge, power, and all kinds of different beautifying, all kinds of attributes. And the more we reflect about this creation that is mentioned from ayah 6 to 16, the more we get to appreciate how, not only how indebted we are to the sustainer, but we get to appreciate who the sustainer is. That only the sustainer of the creator, the sustainer can only be the creator of everything. He can only be one who possesses all comprehensive, absolute attributes and qualities, absolute power, absolute knowledge, someone who has everything under his control, who have infinite mercy and kindness and generosity, etc., etc. So we get to know who the maker, the creator, the host, our host here in this world is, and then we can start appreciating the topic of akhirah, of life after death, of resurrection after death. But you see that this surah, the passage that is mentioned at the beginning of this window is related to the creation, but when you look at it in its own context in the Quran, it is an answer if you have doubt about the momentous announcement, then look around. Who made the earth in this way, the mountains in this way? Isn't it God who is speaking? Who other than God can make this? So once we witness this, we witness that indeed the maker of all this can only be God. La ilaha illahu. There is nothing else can be like him. The all-knowing, the all-powerful, the all-merciful, the all-generous, and etc., etc. Then we can confirm that indeed there is a meaning and purpose in life, and therefore death is not the end, but it's only the beginning of another infinite life. And then we can carry on with the argument in the Quran. We cannot carry on with the argument unless we do the work here. But you see how they are related. The second one is ayah 50 of surah 30. So behold the imprints, the signs of God's mercy, how he raises to life the earth after its death. That's also related to Hashr, to resurrection after death. So you see, these two passages seem to be unrelated, but they are related. They only seem unrelated because we are not used to following the teaching and the guidance of the Quran. We take things for granted, so we are often unaware of the relationship between witnessing, observing, and testifying, witnessing and testifying that who the maker, the sustainer, the creator is, and the certainty of that not only we will be resurrected, but also there is resurrection, there is life after death. Actually, we are going through many resurrections constantly. So these two subjects, looking at the creation, witnessing the how everything indicates and mirrors and reflects the beautiful names of God, and the connection with Akhirah and the truth and the reality of resurrection are directly connected, interconnected. And the other point is, why is only the first part of Ayah 50 of Surah 30 mentioned? The whole Ayah is, the whole Ayah 350 is, look then at the imprints of God's mercy, how he gives life to the earth after its death. This same God is indeed the one that brings the dead back to life, for he is all powerful over all things. So you see the second part of the ayah, إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. This same God is indeed the one that brings the dead to life, for he is powerful over all things, is the conclusion. So before we get to the conclusion, we need to confirm the premise, the first part of the argument. Often what we do, usually, what we do is we take the first part for granted and we use it to jump and deduce the validity of the conclusion. We say, of course, God is the one who brings the dead back to life. And we say, because he is all powerful over all things. But how do we know he is powerful over all things? And if we do that, it would be a circular reasoning. A circular reasoning in the sense that without confirming the first part, which is used in this argument to prove the validity of the conclusion, we take it for granted and jump and say it's true, or we do the other way around. We take it for granted that the conclusion is correct, and therefore, of course, everything is the signs of Rahmatullah, and he is the one, of course, who, even if we look around, we look and say, yes, look, this is all God's creation. But that's not what the ayah is saying. Look how the ayah starts. It says, look, consider, فانظر. Look carefully, consider. What do we consider? How God creates. So first, I have to consider the creation and find out that truly the creator is God. Otherwise, it will be circular. I already believe that God created, and then I look and say, look how he is creating. I have not confirmed anything. Therefore, my iman does not increase. My certainty does not increase. My heart does not find satisfaction and itmi'nan. And the conclusion, I would be assuming, but deep down, there is no anchored, because it has not been confirmed, that it is not truly Iman. That's not truly, because Iman is not to not deny something. Iman is to confirm with evidence. And the evidence here and what needs to be observed is clear. look at the creation. For instance, here, the creation, now it's right springtime, the beginning of spring. Everything looks like dead, and suddenly everything is coming back to life. If I already say God is making this, then I have not confirmed anything. It becomes circular. Of course, God has created this, therefore, this is the evidence to God. I hope it's clear that this is circular. I'm not proving anything. Let's look at this ayah in its context, and you will see some more how we are taught, guided in the Quran, how to reason, how to argue. If you start, Isra, if you're showing the text, it's Surah Al-Rum, start from 46, inshallah. Surah Al-Rum is 30, yeah. So it says, another of his signs is that he sends out the winds bearing good news, giving you a taste of his mercy, of his rahmah, making the ships sail at his command, enabling you to journey in search of his blessings so that you may be grateful. Indeed, we sent messenger before you, each to their own people. They brought them clear proofs, and then we punish the evildoers. We make it our duty to help the believers. And it is God who sends out the winds. They stir up the clouds. He spreads them over the sky as he pleases. He makes them break up, and you see that the rain falling from them. See how they rejoice, people rejoice when he makes it fall upon whichever of his servants he wishes, or his worshippers his wishes. Even though before it is sent, before the rain is sent, they may have lost all hope. Look then at the imprints of God's mercy, how he gives life to the earth after its death. So how he gives life through by sending water. This same God, so I have to first be sure that it is God who is creating this, and then I can say, yes, this same God, I will go and verify the second one. The second part is indeed the one that brings the dead back to life, for he is powerful over all things. So he's saying in the beginning, and another of his signs, he sends out the winds. And each time, I repeat this all the time, in the Quran, we are told God either says he or I, or we sent the wind, we sent the water, we send this. So let's say we send the winds or we send the water. When I look at the rain, do I see it as coming down by God's command, or do I see rain coming down? Imam Nursi, he says, rain does not come down, it is sent. How can rain come down? As we are told in the Quran, does it have eyes with which to see? Does it have power? Does it have knowledge? Does it have mercy? These people need me. So this reasoning, we went through it at the beginning of the windows. So you see why it's building step by step. Until I reach the stage where when I watch the rain falling, I say, Subhanallah, it is being sent. This rain has no qualities to fall. Why? Because rain doesn't know how to fall. Because this falling, this rain, this process of raining involves so many things: knowledge, power, wisdom, purpose, mercy, all kinds of qualities are needed. Yet, we look at water and it has none of these qualities. And it gets into the earth, and lo and behold, without it, there will be no life. No living being can sustain its life without it. At the same time, water has no life. Does it make sense? Can we assume, which we do automatically when we are in ghafla, that water is what is making them alive? No way. It's not possible. But in the Quran, we are taught to question that. And so we realize that this water, this lifeless, unconscious, unknowing, ignorant, powerless water cannot fall on its own in this beautiful, orderly, wise, in a way that leads so many benefits, without which there would be no life, nothing. It cannot be doing it. It is acting at the command of one who possesses all these qualities. This is the 101 of Tawheed. It has to be repeated all the time until it becomes the way we perceive the world. That's what, when we realize that everything is an ayah, is indicating the beautiful names of God, is reflecting the Wajh Allah, the face of God, is making God known. They are making tasbih, glorifying God, and testifying that they, through their powerlessness, through their ignorance, through their lifelessness, they are mirroring his life, his giving of life, his power, his knowledge, his mercy, and they are declaring that Subhanaka, you are beyond needing us. There is no shirk, no way for shirk. Totally, everything is 100% his. And the malakut and the control of everything and the meaning and the purposes of everything look to him, are decided by him, are under his control only. So when we see the wind, when we see the rain falling, we will start making tasbih. That was also one window, previous windows. We will start glorifying together with the rain. Unless we do that, then it will seem that rain somehow is doing something, and we will add, but at the same time, we believe that God is creating everything. So we'll say, okay, it's doing it. Somehow, God is making it do it. This is totally false, circular, assuming things, because why would God need water to do things for it? And how do you know that it is God who is doing it? If what we witness, what we see is truly water doing it, then there is no way we can conclude that behind this there is God, because that's it. We closed the path to God. We gave everything already to the water or the wind or to any causes. So that's why here the author starts only with the first part of the ayah. The second part will only make sense if we confirm the first one. And we can confirm it only when we look carefully, and we already have to see that this is athar rahma. We will see rahma everywhere. And then the water comes and suddenly everything is coming to life. Food, animals, everything. It's not only beauty and aesthetic as we saw before, but it's also vital and crucial for sustaining all kinds and all varieties of life, all kinds of species on Earth, not only human life. And actually, there is an ecosystem. Everything is interconnected and interrelated. We have to first see that it is the one who is right now, for instance, in spring, all this coming to life after death can only be the work of one, and that one who possesses all these attributes is God. First step, then we can carry on for the second step. Usually Muslims already assume without evidence that it is God. Of course, we may feel, but it's not systematic. We may feel that there must be something. We say, I am a Muslim, I believe in God, God must be making it. Who else can make it, right? And then God is making it. And then instead of confirming, witnessing and confirming and that he is all powerful, I take it for granted and then conclude with it. It's a totally circular argument. That's why Iman doesn't grow and we don't feel anchored. And although we say God creates everything, when we see rain, we don't see the power and the rahmah and the generosity, and we see water coming from the sky. So I wanted to repeat this because it's very important. That's why it is, if you read the Quran from beginning to end with this in mind, you will see how much repetition there is. Actually, it is not truly repetition because each time it is seemingly like we send rain is repeated, but each time in a different context to edify and to build that iman, to teach us, guide us how to reason, how to observe, how to come to the conclusion, to the testimony that truly La ilaha illallah. These things cannot be gods. There is no deity, no God. Water cannot be a god, cannot act a god, cannot create anything. It is itself being sustained and maintained and created right here and now. And the creator of all this must and can only be a being that knows everything, has power over everything, that has all-encompassing mercy, generosity. And so now this being we call God. I can't start with God and then come back, then everything would be circular. And inshallah, now we can start the 23rd window, which starts with الذي خلق الموت والحياة الذي خلق الموت والحياة. That's it. The one who created death and life. That's in another place in the Risala, I think in Maktubat, the letters, he takes the whole, again, in this window, only the first part is taken. In another part, the whole ayah is considered. And even in this window, the author focuses on, he creates life. And in other places, he focuses on, he creates death as well as life. So you see, there are steps. And, when we want to take shortcuts, we are missing very important points. So inshallah, we need to be patient if we want to be students of the Quran, inshallah. Bismillah. So will, inshallah, someone can volunteer to read the 23rd window, inshallah, And then whoever was going to share their reflections, please go ahead and share with us. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Yamina. If everybody is okay, I can read it. Saira here. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So, life is the brightest and loveliest miracle of divine power. It is the strongest evidence for the oneness of God, Vahadaniya, as well as the most comprehensive and luminous mirror to the manifestations of the self-sufficient one on whom everything depends. Indeed, life shows the ever-living and self-subsistent source of all being, Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum, with all his names and essential qualities, Shahunat. For life is like sunlight, which is comprised of 7 colors, or like a healing concoction of various ingredients mixed together. Accordingly, life is a truth made of many attributes. Some of these attributes expand through the senses that are differentiated as they grow, like hearing or seeing, while most of the attributes associated with life reveal themselves through the emotions that are disclosed by bubbling up out of life. Moreover, life includes the sustenance, compassion, support, and wisdom that are manifest throughout the governance and management of the universe. It is as if life pulls them along wherever it goes. For instance, when life enters a body, it makes its home and orders it with wisdom, thus manifesting the name All-Wise. Similarly, life manifests the name Generous, Al-Karim, by organizing and arranging the body according to its needs. Likewise, the name Compassionate, Ar-Rahim, manifests through granting all kinds of blessings. Thanks. Thank you. All kinds of blessings. It was right here. Yeah. Thank you. Organizing, arranging the body. I think it got expanded against a little bit. Yeah. Likewise, the name of Compassionate or Rahim manifests through granting all kinds of blessings for the continuation and perfection of life. Moreover, the manifestation of the name of Provider, Ar-Razaq, emerges through the, maybe next page, through the production and storage of both physical and spiritual nourishments for the maintenance and unfolding of life within the body. Thus, life is like a point of convergence in which various attributes intermingle to the point of becoming one and the same. It is as if life in its entirety is knowledge, and at the same time it is power, while it is simultaneously wisdom and compassion, and so on. Its comprehensive quintessence makes life a mirror to the eternally self-sufficient one on whom everything depends, Mirat Samadiya, reflecting the qualities of the sustainer''s essence, Shahun al-Dhat al-Rabbani. It is because of this mystery that the necessary existent being, who is the ever-living and self-subsistent source of all being, Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum, creates life abundantly and profusely, and he spreads and disperses it widely. He puts everything at the service of life, for life's task is great. Indeed, it is neither an easy nor a trivial duty to be a mirror to the eternally self-sufficient one on whom everything depends. Thanks. In sum, we see before our eyes at all times countless new lives as well as souls that are the origins and essences of these living lives being sent into existence expeditiously out of nowhere. These show the necessary existence of the ever-living and self-subsistent source of all being and his sacred attributes and most beautiful names, just as sun rays show the sun. If someone were to reject the sun, then he would have to deny the sunlight that permeates the day. Similarly, If a person does not recognize the Son of divine oneness, that is the ever living and self subsistent source of all being and the giver of life and death, then he would have to deny the existence of living beings that fill up the face of the earth from the past to the future. Such denial would mean utter ignorance and foolishness.
Thank you, Saira. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you, Dr. Yamina.
So I think Sister Mariam wanted to share. Please go ahead.
Assalam, Isra. So would you like me to read my part slowly one more time again before I share?
As you like, yeah.
Okay. So indeed, life shows the ever-living and self-subsistent source of all being, El Hayy El Qayyum, with all his names and essential qualities. Shew not, for life is like sunlight, which is comprised of 7 colors, or like a healing concoction of various ingredients mixed together. Accordingly, life is a truth made of many attributes. Some of these attributes expand through the senses that are differentiated as they grow, like hearing or seeing, while most of the attributes associated with life reveal themselves through the emotions that are disclosed by bubbling up out of life. So last week, Alia was talking about the flower that we saw on the park while we were walking. Knowing that Allah is El Hayy and El Qayyum and ever living, doesn't have any beginning and ending. He has been around for millions of years, and he will be alive. Looking at the flower, we were thinking about how does this flower, when this wasn't here a week ago, but now it is standing here with its yellow flowers, and as if it is telling us, look at me, look at me. But then the question comes, can the flower survive itself? It is living, but can it sustain its living? And so we know that there are deers outside in the park, and then deers doesn't go and eat those flowers, so they are deer resistant. And can they protect themselves from the deer? And can they choose their color or their shape? So how come, looking at flower and asking all those questions, we realize that they cannot do all of these things on their own. So there must be a life giver and a sustainer who sustains these flowers, these group of flowers in the middle of the wilderness. And then looking at them and seeing the qualities, the beauty, their protection, their sustenance, we can start to make a connection between their maker and the flowers. And if their maker is the one who is giving the beauty, and if their maker is the one who is protecting them, and if their maker is the one who is sustaining them, it is also it also shows me that their creator is my creator, and it helps me to build trust that my creator is also the one who gives the beauty, and my creator is the one who is going to protect me and he is the one who is going to sustain me and has always done that. So this helps me know my Rabb, who my Rabb is. And then when I know my Rabb, what do I do with this? When I need, let's say, protection, when I need, or my loved ones need protection, I turn to the protector and ask for protection. I do not beg from another person. And then when I receive and give protection to someone else, I see it coming from the protector, the source itself, the one who gives lives, and the one who sustains it. When I do that, it also shows me that I do not steal, or I'm not owning that quality. I give it back to its source and its creator. And that's all.
Thank you, Mariam, for sharing.
You're welcome.
I wanted to highlight that the way the text was divided by Dr. Yamina for our study, it has two main parts, A and B, and within that we have three parts here, and Mariam, the first paragraph here, and the top, the very is what we can call as thesis. As Dr. Yamina has said a couple times before, in the Risale, there's usually a statement of what is going to happen in that window, and then there's an unpacking and giving evidence. So I just want to remind us the central purpose of the window in the thesis, that life is the brightest and loveliest miracle of divine power. And it is the strongest evidence of wahdaniyya, oneness of God, as well as the most comprehensive mirror to as-samad, the manifestation of samad, most luminous mirror to it. So that's going to be at the heart of this window, and that's what we want to understand better, how to see life as a window opening up onto oneness of God and the summit. And if I may, I wanted to add one more thing about this first part that Mariam shared reflections about. I like this idea of life like a sunlight, this metaphor that is given here. So sunlight looks just one yellow color, but then you can see through the prism that it's actually consisting of 7 different colors. And so life is like that. It is one of the names of God, Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. But as within that, many other names of God and attributes manifest. So I'm curious how the second part, if Dr. Yamina could help us a bit more, perhaps for the second part of this, what does it mean for these attributes to expand through senses, like hearing and seeing, and then also reveal themselves? This sentence, while most of the attributes associated with life reveal themselves through the emotions that are disclosed by bubbling up out of life. There's something in life, it looks like, that manifests Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum and other attributes and essential qualities. And there's also this distinction between qualities and attributes here. There's something in life through which a variety of, not just one or two, a variety of essential qualities and names are manifesting. And so just wanted to put it as a question, Dr. Yamina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Let's hear if there are others, and then we can come back, inshallah. But like, at least when we first read this window, we can get a sense of somehow there is something going on, like even before we reflect seriously, we can not confirm, but at least realize that it is true that, let's put it this way, the higher the life of a creature, of a being, the more likely for that being, that creation, to reflect more attributes. Those attributes in the beginning, we still, if we look superficially, it looks like the attributes belong to the being itself. But then if we do the La ilaha part properly, and Maryam, as she shared, she was doing just that, La ilaha, this flower cannot be protecting itself, cannot be the source of its life because it dies eventually, cannot be doing this, cannot be doing that. Therefore, yet at the same time, we are seeing that right now it is being protected. It is alive. It is sustained. It is, therefore, where is the source of this life? And that's where we start looking from something beyond, and we find illallah. Then we are onto the path, we are guided onto the direction to look for, or confirm, find and confirm illallah. But it's, if we look at a rock, for instance, unless we deeply reflect and we have learned something special and we contemplated rocks for a long time and saw that they also are eroded and changed, the change is so slow that it's not easy to see that something is going on. It looks like the rock is sitting there. We don't see, there are no emotions, no motion, and no emotion. And therefore, not many attributes can be detected easily. A flower is easier. There is something, a seedling that grows, there is shape, there is color, there is smell, there is an interaction. It moves us, it attracts our attention.
And it needs sustenance. Rock doesn't seem to.
That doesn't seem. It does need, but like in very subtle ways. But a flower needs water, and then when we think a little more, oh, it needs also sun, and then it needs soil, it needs air. Air is the one that we realize the less, but it's more obvious. An insect is even more alive. It moves around and it may annoy us. It may. A bird is even more. Some people even like buy the bird or feed the bird, and it has needs. The higher the life, remember in one of the windows before, the needs were the keys to the beautiful names of God. We cannot understand the qualities of God if we were not created with needs. And that's why when we are in ghafla, and when we are not aware of our needs, we do not realize how they are functioning as keys to the beautiful names of God, because we take everything for granted. So the higher life, higher needs, higher manifestation of various not only like seeing, hearing, and also it says in some attributes related to emotions. Something annoys you, something makes you joyful, something makes you sad, something makes you grieve, all kinds. grieving, sadness, all these things are again keys to a source beyond us. So that's why life, it says at the very beginning, the thesis is, it is a miracle of divine power, the strongest evidence for the oneness of God. And what we see first is the most, that's where we start actually, the most comprehensive and luminous mirror to the manifestation of the Samad, the self-sufficient one. And Samad means everything depends on him, and he is the only one that needs none. And we talked about it a lot when we talked about Ahadiyya and Wahidiyya. Each creatures, because it is interconnected with all the universe, with all other creatures, its maker, its sustainer, the one who is taking care of it, of its needs, can only be the maker, sustainer of the whole world. So all of them are in need. So La ilaha, they cannot, the others cannot be gods because they themselves are in need. Yet, lo and behold, they all are pointing to one single source. That single source needs nothing because it or he, let's call that source God, is the one who is sustaining everything. So that's a Samad. He's Ahad, he's one and Samad. Everything needs him, depends on him, and he's the one who sustains and fulfills the need of everything. That's the key. We will start. From there, we go to Wahdaniyya, from there to divine and divine power at the same time. Shall we go with the presenters and then come back, inshallah?
We don't have a presenter for the second part. I wanted to say something.
Yes, please go ahead.
Insect even gets scared, for instance, like it runs away for its life when it realizes it's tiny, but still it has this some sort of like bubbling of emotions as that life, part of life manifesting, it brings along these emotions, as you said, in all of us as well, but even in a tiny creature like insect, which always surprised me.
It runs away, right?
Yeah.
There is a preservation, like life is precious. Understand, because we are created with the tendency generally to preserve life, not only ours, but anything we value. Even a plant, if we value it, we try to save it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I went as an example that's helpful for me is to look at babies, because they are so clueless to things around them, but you can see that life in them, that they want to explore. They make choices, not like knowingly I'm choosing this. They're not really self-conscious, especially the young ones. They this way, they want to do this, they like this, like there is this, and then all of a sudden gets bored, wants to do something else. That liveliness in that baby is very interesting, because it's something you can program. It's something dynamic happening at that moment. And so these it says, attributes manifest through the sense in an alive being. So attributes such as wanting, choosing something, liking something, appreciating something, all of this happen through life. That if that if you just had a DNA doesn't have any of these, but then the way, it's part of a cell, and that cell becomes unified with the other cell and becomes a full-fledged baby, and that baby comes out alive and has so many attributes manifested through senses of that baby, and then also the emotions in that baby. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thank you, Isra. I had like a striking thought that came to me, and a question too. So I remember in our studies for some time with Dr. Ali here in New York, we repeated this need to be, or like this need to be aware of the fact that as long as something exists, it needs a giver of existence and a sustainer of existence. And as in like intellectual statement, it was easy to digest that and understand that. But I don't think like a real experiential connection was made that really like, makes my heart rebel or something like that. And now with this window, it seems like, last week we talked about how A plus B does not equal C. And Isra, like you're saying about like a baby, like that was a real, like having this moment of A and B does not equal C. And like exploring, like we talked about in the chat, vegetables, and how the vegetables in a way resemble the gemstones because they are just colorful things that pop out of nowhere and that are divinely delivered for us.
Those of us who didn't hear that last time, could you quickly tell us A plus B is not equal to C, that kind of shorthand you're using?
Sure. So we were saying how, last week we discussed mountains and storehouses and mountains being this sign. And so I was just discussing how looking further into mountains, I discovered that there's these gemstones that are found and somehow formed within mountains. And then when I looked up how, it was talking about changes of temperature very gradually over a long period of time. But to me, that I could not intellectualize that at all. Like I could not even, how does temperature change and time equal dark blue sapphire, bright yellow gold, bright white diamond, bright pink rose? It just, I could not fathom. So I was saying in that particular example, A and B does not equal C at all. They have nothing to do with each other. So that was what really was a breakthrough for me. Like, wow, there's someone who really wanted to make a show of this example and say, alarm, alarm, I am infinitely creative. This is what I do. And it was just so shocking for me. And then Dr. Yamina last week said, actually, everything in existence is like that. A and B doesn't equal C ever. And I'm like, what? Really? How? And so for this week, I just sort of sat with that. And I was cooking and I was holding asparagus, red peppers, orange peppers, mushrooms. And then this striking idea came to me like, oh my God, how are these different colors even possible? So what? There's a different seed and some dirt and some water and it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever that they come together in such a way, and then
It would be like
this product.
It would be like someone saying, this house is bricks and stones and windows and glass, and maybe sand and cement. something like
Yeah.
that.
And so for a moment, I would be like, well, yeah, that's true. And then I sat with it and I'm like, but no, because the inside, as we look, is a whole new construction that is way beyond that. And so back to that initial thought, it was, this window is very clear, brief, and strikingly saying anything that, and I wanted to ask, is it given life, like animates? Is that, yeah, versus inanimate? Or is it anything that exists? Because for a moment, I'm like, okay, no, this is referring to only that which is given life. For anything that's given life, that's a striking, like, where does that come from? What are the constituents of that life? Which reminds me of why, with any moment of attempting to be conscious, Dr. Yamina always brings us back to our breath. And it's literally only when I make the time to do that meditation can I remember that, oh, wow, oh, yeah, like this breath is coming from somewhere, showing me that I'm being taken care of and I have a caretaker. So then I'm wondering too, Dr. Yamina, is it also, because we talked about water being such a sign of al-hay, but that's not necessarily a breathing being, but we can see al-hay through the water. So let's say like the rock
Not through
also.
the water itself. If we had not seen water, it's because living beings all are in need of water.
Right.
And we
Okay.
learn that they are mostly made of water, that water becomes significant. The sign is not only water itself, it is the interconnection between water and a being. That's
right. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not necessarily either or, right? I mean, a waterfall is still a sign of majesty,
but not of life if we did not know, if we were not aware of its connection to living beings.
Right. That makes sense. So for me now, like, I think every window offers, like, for me, like a shattering effect, like a breakthrough, really like shattering some old formula, like A plus B equals C. Like, of course, water the plant, it grows. Of course, plant. But like, so for this window, the shattering thing for me is like, anytime I will see a moving or living creature, I can pause and just like ask, what gives you life, or what constituent you or with you makes you a breathing living being. And truly then anything that moves and breathes around, because I don't get to see something, but I can see bugs or outside birds and squirrels and things like that, and I never really revel over them. It's like there's another squirrel or there's another bird, unless it's like a blue bird and it's like something I barely see. But in this way, for this week at least, inshallah, I intend to pause when I see a living creature, and then after that pause, it's as though it's literally coming from a portal that is unseen, that is an infinite fount of life. And that is amazing. Like, you're coming from an infinite fount and you're here right now, and so am I. It's almost like this window made me make that connection to what Dr. Ali's always been saying, by saying, okay, living thing here now is coming from a portal of infinite life, because there's no other way to explain that. And I was actually using this example of a portal, and it came to me during one of the meditations this week I did, like, this breath, how do you explain it? How do you explain that breathing is coming to you and coming into you? Like,
this is the first step. it's not only that it cannot be explained in another way, which is true, and we start there. It is also because it is a mirror to some qualities. Does it make sense? There are layers.
No, if you can clarify a bit, I don't really understand.
For instance, now it's spring and you hear lots of birds chirping, right? And they are making their nests and building. There's lots of activity going on. If we take only one activity, the more life, the more motion and emotion. That birds, some of them are tiny, tiny little birds, but they are like a whole orchestra. They're singing and really loud. So not only they're singing loud, it's pleasant, it's harmonious, and those who know about birds can recognize exactly what species it is, what kind of bird it is. Isn't that amazing? That bird was born from an egg, like it's matter. It's you can fry it or boil it, and people eat eggs. Like they are more or less similar. Just they will say, yeah, you see, the DNA is the A plus B, but the DNA is different. Is there music in the DNA? Is there sound in the DNA? It's like we say, but it's water. Without water, it won't grow. Is there life in water? As we are told in the Quran, in Surah Al-A'raf, Surah 7. Do they have hands? Do they have to grab with? Do they have eyes to see? And then we are told they cannot create anything because they themselves are being created. Water is itself being sustained. DNA is phosphate, sugar, something, matter, and it is itself being sustained. And DNA is like a recipe. Does the recipe is, yes, the recipe has a connection to the dish, but are the vegetables in the dish? Are the cooking and everything in the recipe? No, clearly. They are not in the DNA, they are not in the egg, the new formed, pretty little adorable bird that goes everywhere, that flies, that connects with air, with sunlight, with different other creatures and plants, that feeds on them, that sings, and it sings exactly like the bird it came from. It has, how does it know? It goes through the DNA, or the DNA doesn't have hands, doesn't have, it doesn't make a bird. DNA is at the best like a recipe. So not only there is no other way to explain it, but it's much more than that. That's the first step. La ilaha, so nothing can make it, plus illallah also has to be confirmed, except one that has power, that controls everything, that has the power to form, to get shape, and knows all its ancestors, knows the food, and knows the food it needs and makes them, knows all the materials needed to build its nest and creates them, makes them available, gives it the flying ability, and inspires it with how to make it. All these things are pointing and reflecting some attributes, those attributes that belong to, we say, this is God, this is the maker, the sustainer. So not only they are making, I'm saying these activities are signs, it means they are making the maker, the creator, the sustainer, known with various qualities and attributes. Does it make sense, Sarah?
Yes, so it seems like not only the fact that it exists, not only when I see a creature that exists, like, but at the same time, every quality that it has is also given life. It's a, like the singing quality is given life. And
It's a sign that
you clarifying that.
life, right?
Sorry?
It's a sign that it is alive and it comes out with life together.
And with also all these other qualities, like you're saying, like a
Yeah.
thing, or it's a moving thing, or it's a seeing. And it just, that clarification that you made and my inability to comprehend it the first time shows how much those other things I take for granted. Like, oh, it's also a seeing thing. Yeah, but we're all seeing things. Like, but does the DNA, like, how are you a seeing being? So yeah, I really needed that clarification, because that piece about the DNA, it just makes, it's just, again, it's like shattering. How do you see? And I don't know, it's just very overwhelming. I think I'm just gonna have to sit with it for a week and see, inshallah.
Yeah. The more we reflect and observe and contemplate, the more what we understand intellectually start sinking in and start being digested through the heart, and the soul starts it feeds the soul. And then it becomes, yes, this is the reality. We start seeing things in a new way. And we realize it was always there, but I was not paying attention to it. Or I was not seeing it in that way.
And
And
go ahead, Sarah.
sorry, no, I was gonna just, the final thing, like, for me, it just, it's such a huge point of emphasis, because the people that we may or may not live with, or people that we see, exist in our lives daily. And so it's like we have a very easy access point to remember this homework for the week. So for me, I have a 2-year-old human being that is now speaking, and he wasn't speaking much before, and now, like, oh my God, it's like, it's really like out of nowhere, full sentences, so many emotions, so many and it's like that one thing is like, not only is it a speaking being, but it's like a thinking, comprehending, like a whole other concept of language. So I appreciate the comment that Dr. Yamina said. It's
yeah, subhanAllah. And it's also, it becomes time again to remember again who speaks when I speak, because we seldom reflect about it, and therefore by default I assume, the assumption is, the underlying, implicitly, the assumption is that I speak, I understand. Then I realize that who speaks when I speak, how does understanding comes to me? And sometimes you want to understand something and you don't. Sometimes I remember small things, old things, and sometimes something that happened yesterday. What was it? It doesn't come. Lo and behold, I realized that I am not the one who remembers. I am made to remember. I am made to understand. I am made to speak. I am made to think. The more we contemplate, it means the more we cultivate, or we ask for our consciousness to be developed and cultivated. which means because we can't cultivate our consciousness, we can only stop being mindless, and then we realize that we are being taken care of, including being more and more mindful, more and more conscious. And then, subhanallah, all these things come together with life. And they come with life and they indicate life. That's why the example of the sun, as Isra was mentioning, is quite fitting in this, from this perspective, because when there is light, even if it's the weather is cloudy and we don't see the sun, we know the sun is there, because the daylight is the proof, evidence, the indication that the sun is there. And if the sun is there, we understand that there will be sunlight. It works both ways. But we always start with, first we notice the light, and then we find the sun, and then we come back. Here it's like all these attributes are signs of life, and with life, they all manifest. Life is like a channel, is like a quality that encompasses all these qualities. That's why Al-Hayy is a very loaded name. In a way, all the names of God look to each other, because Hayat, life, is rizq, is a providence. At the same time, it is rahmah. But we can also say knowledge is rahmah, knowledge is rizq, knowledge is, and so they all look to each other in a way. But some names like Hay, like life and giver of life, the one who has life and who gives life, al-Muhyi, are in a way more manifest, let's say, easier to see, and easier, and the veil over this name is not as thick if we just make a little effort, if we make the intention to look around. Because clearly we are not the source of life. Clearly I can fall dead anytime now. The moment I stay with that reality, the more I contemplate, the more I will start feeling life flowing through me. I'm the recipient of life right here and now. And then I become like, I can watch and observe myself and experience it, feel it, taste it. And of course, life is tasted because it manifests through seeing and hearing and all kinds of emotion. Then I also experience it through those emotions. Imagine if someone is like frozen in a state of traumatic state of, for instance, sometimes people in a shock don't even hear or see what's around them for a short period of time. And it's like almost like they don't feel, like a rock. Then life manifests. You barely know that they are alive because the body is still has not fallen down. The more, and that's why people rather have negative feelings, or let's say feelings that are uncomfortable, discomfortable, than not feeling anything, because they want to feel alive, because through life come so many different names of God. Through, let's say, many qualities, the second step is for us to confirm again and again that these qualities are indicating the source, and therefore they are indicating the divine qualities.
Dr. Yamina, it says 7 colors in the sunlight. So there is, as it might be helpful to point out
theology in Kalam.
In Kalam that there are 7 attributes of
essential attributes. You mean?
Asbad al-Thubuti.
Yeah.
That's also in the book in a footnote.
Yes.
So I wanted to maybe highlight those a bit. So these are they usually considered to be the 7 attributes of God.
Islamic theology.
Islamic theology. And life, knowledge, hearing, seeing, will, power, and speech. And so, and all of them, manifest through life. When somebody is able to, when they come back to their consciousness, let's say, as you said, if they faint or lose consciousness, when they come back to consciousness, full life, then they know where they are, hearing, seeing, will, power, and talking or singing like the birds. So all of these attributes become manifest through life. And therefore, this category, these sifat, these attributes of God are mentioned in classical Islamic theology. But what is most noteworthy here is that Imam Nursi is highlighting how these names are manifesting. We can confirm these names, these attributes of God, by looking at life as a sign, as a window.
That's why it is a mirror to his names. Life is like a mirror.
Yes. Many things manifest all together in the mirror of life.
And in part 2, you say at the beginning, it says, moreover, life includes the sustenance, the rizq, compassion, and support, and wisdom. Life includes all these things that are manifest throughout the governance and management of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Without life, we wouldn't be able to see that everything is managed in a way to promote and to sustain with compassion, give support, with wisdom. And we say wisdom always means benefits, and benefits that looks again to life. Without life, how would we know benefit to what? It is as if life pulls all these qualities, sustenance, compassion, support, and wisdom, pulls them along wherever it goes. Wherever there is life, wherever the sun is, there is light. Wherever there is life, all these different various qualities are manifested. For instance, when life enters a body, it makes its home and orders it with wisdom, thus manifesting the name all-wise. Similarly, life manifests the name generous, Kareem, by organizing and arranging the body according to its need. The bird's body fits it is created in a way to live in the environment where it is put. And it is true for every kind of plant, animals, all kinds. And then it says, likewise, the name compassionate, Rahim, manifests through granting all kinds of blessings for the continuation and perfection of life. Moreover, the manifestation of the name Razzaq, provider, emerges through the production and storage of both physical and spiritual nourishments for the maintenance and unfolding of life within the body. So the part 2 is explaining further what is claimed in the thesis and what has he has started to explain in part 1. And in part 3, we are told, thus, life is like a point of convergence. It's like a focal point in which various attributes intermingle to the point of becoming one and the same. So they all come together and they intermingle, and in such a way, it's like the lights, the 7 colors of the light. When, if you have a prism, you see the spectrum of different lights, yet they all look like one light, one white light, but actually there are all kinds of color that you can see through, for instance, if the light goes through a prism. And here also, they become like one. We call it life. Unless we stop and start reflecting, we usually take it that granted that they all come together. Unless something happens and then we say something is missing here. What was it? It is as if life in its entirety is knowledge. It is as if life is knowledge, and at the same time, it is power. Life is power, while it is simultaneously wisdom and compassion and so on. It is as if life is compassion, life is power, life is knowledge, because in a way, without life, there is no consciousness, there is no knowledge, there is no understanding, there is no seeing, they come together. So life is it's like a channel, yes?
And vice versa. So with life, knowledge becomes manifest. And then with
when there is knowledge, we understand that this being is alive.
Yeah, and then at the same time, in order for that being to become alive, you need comprehensive knowledge about its needs and how.
Oh, in that way, yes.
It goes both ways.
It's a sign, an ayah to knowledge, yes. Its comprehensive quintessence makes life a mirror. So it's here, life's comprehensive quintessence makes it a mirror to the eternally self-sufficient one, a samad, one onto whom everything depends. Reflecting the qualities of the sustainer's essence. It is because of this mystery of life, that the necessary existent being, who is the ever-living and self-subsistent source of all being, Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum, creates life abundantly and profusely, because the purpose of creation is to get to know the Creator, and I will say worship, but we don't understand usually what worship means. We think it's making salat and fasting only. Those are means or some manifestations, some specific types of worship. But ubudiyya, the essence of worship, is to know God. Know here is not only intellectually, but intellectually through the heart and the soul, experientially. Experience and taste the beautiful names of God, so we get to know who He is, and because we only know Him through knowing ourselves, and vice versa, because our being comes from Him, is sustained through Him, our life is flowing unto us here and now through Him. And through that, in being infused with that life, we are being made to experience and taste all the names of God, and so to get to know Him and to realize that we are totally dependent on His creating and sustaining us. And therefore, We only need him, and everything else that we think we need is from him and points to him and makes him known. And therefore, we worship him alone, means we ask him alone for guidance, for provision, for knowledge, for whatever we need and desire and long for eternity, for eternal meaning and happiness here. And that eternal happiness, when we find the source, it changes, it transforms who we are and how we experience life here and now. Believing in akhirah is not after we die. After we die, it's over, it's too late. Believing in akhirah, having yaqeen, certainty that we are and we will be resurrected after death. We are being sustained in life here and now. We will be resurrected and sustained in life after death. That iman, that yaqeen, that certainty has an effect, transforms who we are here and now. And ibadah is ubudiyah, and ibadah, worshipping, is this, asking help from God alone, and therefore being grateful to him alone, praising him alone. That's the essence, the gist of the message of Surah Al-Fatiha. That's why we repeat it so many times throughout the Salat, for instance. It is because of this mystery that the necessary existent being, who is the ever-living and self-subsistent source of all being, creates life abundantly, because that's the purpose of the creation. And life, look at all the plants, all the varieties of insects, of animals, of birds, of even human beings. Subhanallah, it's beyond our imagination. We're not even talking about the oceans and all the varieties of different kinds of lives and beings that are all like so miraculous, so wise. And sometimes it's not like we need them in a way. We don't know exactly, so many of them, we're not even aware of them, but wherever we come to know these beings, the more we know them, the more we are at awe at whoever is creating them. From outside, and the way, not only from the colors and the shapes, but also and more so, the more we learn how they make a living, how they live, how they are provided for, how they are protected, how they are sustained. It's just mind-blowing. Subhanallah, mashallah, tabarakallah, ahsan al-khaliqin. And that's exactly the purpose of all creation, and particularly because the beings with life are the clearest mirrors to the beautiful names of God. Therefore, there are so many. There is an abundance, he's saying, of them. They are created abundantly, profusely, and he spreads and disperses them widely. Wherever you go, you still find something living. He puts everything at the service of life. And not only that, but life is like a focal point. Everything else, even the revolution and rotation of the earth around the sun, even the motion of the sun, the galaxy, everything is in a way that serves life. Life is at the center, as if, because through it we understand so many other beautiful names. I'll call them beautiful names as so many qualities, let's say, that we understand that they are the qualities, divine qualities, the qualities of the maker, of the sustainer. For Life's task is great. Indeed, it is neither an easy nor a trivial duty to be a mirror to the eternally self-sufficient one onto whom everything depends. In sum, we see before our eyes at all times countless new lives as well as souls that are the origins and essences of these lives being sent into existence expeditiously, like very swiftly, very fast, out of nowhere. There's nothing, there's something. So there was an egg. It's like there is a door. Each time the door opens, dishes are coming. We're sitting in the restaurant and they open the door and people come with dishes. We come and we say, this door, this room, let's say we don't know about kitchen, as if the kitchen, even if we know the name, so what? The kitchen is making these things. No, someone is not only cooking, but someone is also shopping. There need to be the ingredients, or lots of things are going on for those dishes to come. And dishes are not as sophisticated as beings, but still it is clearly, we can't say that the kitchen is making them. Of course there is a kitchen, of course there will be food. Well, in my kitchen, there isn't always food. And unless I go shopping and decide to cook, there will be no food. How come we take it? Of course there is an egg, that's why. No, of course there is a seed. Unless it's only because we saw trees and all kinds of different plants coming from seeds and bulbs, and well, even bulbs come from seeds eventually, that we take it for granted. It's again what Sarah was mentioning at the beginning, A, B is not C. Someone with power and knowledge and all this is bringing out a tree out of a seed. A seed cannot make a tree. A tree with seeds. La ilaha, this seed cannot be, it is related only through divine power and wisdom. The tree does not produce, does not create the seed. The seeds are created in the tree, and the seed does not create a tree. And if you contemplate and reflect, there is, and you can still say this seed is making the tree, it means something is missing here, because in order to make the tree, we need, whoever is making this tree is in control of sunlight, air, all the trees are all the plants, all the ecosystem, all the universe, all not only the earth, but the solar system, the galaxy, everything, because they are all interconnected. So in order for a tree to exist in one phase, let alone grow and be alive, there is need for all comprehensive knowledge, all comprehensive power, all comprehensive wisdom and resources, and creating things out of nowhere. It needs only one who can create through being it is, can create that tree. And a being who has life cannot give life. Who does not have life cannot give life. So this being has life, and a life that never dies, because this tree dies and another one is living somewhere else. So all these arguments that were argued starting from window 1 are all needed. They need to be clear in order to understand what is said here. Otherwise, we will be just we won't be able to confirm and experience the reality of what's been told here. In some...
Dr. Yamina, shall we pause here as the time is kind of coming close to 10 o'clock?
Okay, I just thought maybe if we could finish it so next time, but we can have, how about reflecting on this window, sharing reflection next week, and then we start on to the next window, 24, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. We also had a sister who wanted to present today, I think.
Oh, I thought no one was presenting, that's why. Otherwise, I wouldn't say a word.
No, we appreciate your discourse. That's always appreciated.
So please, when you are presenting, if you are presenting, just go ahead.
No, we had a gap anyway. We didn't have everybody signed up for all sections. So you did cover sections that weren't signed up by anyone. So it's good. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. So maybe we take our homework to take time this week to reflect more on life and the attributes bubbling out of life, manifesting through life, and opening us up to the beautiful qualities of the creator of life, inshallah. And it's very, very timely because the spring is here in many parts of the world, and it's just things are coming into being. As Maryam shared, the flowers are coming, and they, as you said, they go out of existence. They are alive. Some creatures come out first, and then they die, and other flowers come, and then they die. Others. So it's wonderful that inshallah we can start reflecting on this life. We see it every year, but to look at it as a sign, as a major sign and mirror to the summit onto whom everyone depends. Inshallah, may that be our homework. And we continue next week, inshallah. Is that okay?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, inshallah. And it's interesting how the next window, 24th, is La ilaha, 24th window is La ilaha illahu huwa kullu shay'in halikun illa wajhah lahu al-hukmu wa ilayhi turja'un. So it's like goes back full circle. Oh, sorry, it means there is no God except him. Everything is perishing except his face. Al-hukm, the power and the judgment and belong to him, and to him you are returning.
Inshallah, after life, we will look at this window.
Inshallah.
Window of death. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina, and Jazakumullah khair, everyone who joined us tonight. And thank you, Maryam, and others who shared or signed up to share. We'll continue, inshallah, next week.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين في أمان الله.
في أمان الله.